So let's work on the shopping list added component. In its template, I want to add a bootstrap row, and in there I want to have a column spanning the full width, like that. And in there, I'll add a form element. Now important, remove the action because we're not going to send a request to the server once this is submitted. But we will have a look at submitting forms later in this course. We have a whole section about that, and that is when we will fill this form with more life. For now in this form, I want to have a row, and this should now maybe have a width of only 5 on small devices. On very small devices, it should span the full width, which is why I'm using the SM class here. And it should also have the form group bootstrap class attached to it, this div. And in here, I'll have a label for the name of my item. So I'll say name here as a text. And I'll add an input of type text, that's correct, with ID name, so that this label refers to it. And then here, this should receive the class form control to make it look nice in Bootstrap's world. Next to it, and that is why I chose to not give this column the full width, I want to have another div with a width of, let's say, 2, because it's going to be a very small input. Then also the form group div, or a class here. And in there, another label for the amount, so let's say amount here. And then an input of type text here, or maybe even of type number, to be honest, which gets the ID, amount, and then the class form control. So that should give us the inputs the user will later use to add new ingredients. Below my inputs here, I'll add another row, which will now span the full width. And here I want to have a couple of buttons which allow me to manage this item creation or editing process. The first button I'll add here with the style of button success to make it look green in Bootstrap's world will be of type submit, because this button should actually submit the form later. And I will say add there because it allows us to add a new item. The second button will be of type button because it should not submit the form. This button should simply delete the selected recipe ingredient, because later we will be able to click an ingredient. It will then be loaded into the input fields up here. And if we click delete, well, it simply will be removed. So delete item, or just delete maybe. And then the last one, which allows us to clear the form. If we loaded the item, we wanted to add it, and then decided to not do that, I want to have a button which allows me to clear the form. So here I will maybe make this blue with button primary. If we save this, this is actually how I want this form to look. We have an input field for the amount, for the name, and our buttons which later will be filled with some life so that we can manage this ingredient.